my long-term concern, I think those that are familiar with me and have been on the trading pubs, central bank digital currencies give me the heebie-jeebies. Everyone thinks I'm some tin hat, nut crack conspiracy person, but honestly, this is probably the scariest thing I've seen in a long time. And the world is trending towards a very socialistic, left-wing type world. I mean, we've got China over on the other side of the pond. And basically, what China is doing right now is where the Western world wants to be by 2030. And it's scary. Remember this. What China is right now in terms of their social credit score is where the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and the G20, the 20 biggest nations on the planet, want to be by 2030. For those who are not familiar with the Chinese social system, here's a little preview. The list goes on, by the way. That's not the full list. If you're on the blacklist or have a bad score, you have slower internet speeds. You're not allowed to buy certain foods from certain shops. You're not allowed to go into public buildings, as in like government buildings and stuff like it's horrendous. And so how can the West implement a Chinese social credit score type system? Well, CBDCs. That is literally the only way around it. You have to control the money supply. So there are two things really to control a populace, a country. You need to control the information distribution mechanisms and also one's money. So in terms of information, the powers that be already control that. BBC News, whatever state propaganda outlet there is. The news, the information thing is pretty much already controlled, but they don't control the money properly. They can control interest rates and stuff like that, but they can't really control it. So the other year, was it last year? God, the last 2 years seems like 10 years to me. We had the Canadian trucker crisis, right? And Trudeau turned into bloody China, just like that. He fought for emergency powers, which were granted, and then he froze all of the money of all of those peaceful protesters.
Fuck Trudeau.
Yes. No. So he basically froze $6 million Canadian dollars worth of assets of all of those peaceful Canadian truckers, and they were just doing peaceful protests of COVID jabs and all that sort of stuff. So for the first time in a Western built-up country, they literally just banned private citizens' money, which is a big thing, by the way. It set a new precedent. And I've been talking about CBDCs for years. At least 5 years ago, I started talking about CBDCs. And guess what I was called back then? A conspiracy theorist, to saying that a central bank would create its own currency and disintermediate the commercial banks. And then I was at this big conference more than 2 years ago, because I've held on to this video for a bit, and I started talking about it then. And now, everything I've said 5 years ago is coming true, like right now. So, again, you've probably heard me use this analogy, but it's the easiest way to explain it. I use sheep, right? Because we are effectively sheep. So this is a view from my office. This is my garden. It's quite nice. And you can't really see them. They are there. There are normally sheep all over that field and over here. So I put some sheep in there. So let's say, for example, a big clothing company came to me and said, hey, Siam, I need lots of wool. And I also want some mutton, let's say. Can you give me X amount of tons of wool? And I need it fast. Otherwise, you don't get paid, blah, blah, blah. So I could either get my shotgun out and go to each sheep and go, sorry, and then basically start dragging them over to wherever I need to, which is bad analogy, but that would be a very inefficient way of doing it, right? I'm not stupid, so I would try, and I'm very lazy, so I'd try and do it in the most efficient way possible. So what I would do is I'd get some sort of sheepdog and a slaughterhouse, okay? So I get my little sheepdog here. You can see my editing skills are pretty awesome. And I get Lassie to go and round up all of the sheep and put them into some sort of pen. So I'd bring them all into the ha-ha, and I'd put a little fence around this little area here. So once I've got all the sheep in this area, I can then force them all into the slaughterhouse. And then I've got lots of wool. So I can then basically sell all the wool, jobs are good. We are those sheep in terms of monetary status. So right now, we are citizens with cash, and the government and the central banks have no idea where our cash is. They know where the stuff in your bank account is, but they don't really know where we transact cash, etc. And so what they need to do is they need to round us up. And the way that they round us up is by forcing us through time, and it won't be like by Monday we're all using digipound or whatever. It will be over a period of, say, 3 years. A good example is contactless payments. How fast did it take to infiltrate the nation? That took 2 years, pretty much, to the point where I absolutely hate getting my wallet out. I can't remember the last time I got my wallet out to pay with a card. I have to pay with I literally just tap stuff on my phone, and it's nice and easy. That took 2 years to infiltrate modern economy, the modern world, let's say. And I think CBDCs will be exactly the same. They will use existing infrastructure to do so. So they'll use contactless payments and digital wallets, etc. But they need to get us into this pen. Now this pen is, so this is basically the central banks, the World Economic Forum, etc. Once we're in this pen, this is the equivalent of us all using digipound or digidollar, wherever you may be. What is the currency in Romania? Say again, sorry? Ron. Cool. Good. Or the that. And then once we're all in the digipound, there are so many things that we're going to get screwed over left, right, and center. I could talk till the cows come home. So you've seen this thing before, but this is for the new people. This is how the world actually works. And this is not conspiracy theory. This is actual fact. This is how the world works. You have the policymakers at the top, the Bank for International Settlements, this moves, damn it. The central banks, the World Economic Forum, these are the think tanks and stuff that come up with all of the policies. Then they pass it down to the enforcers. A government is literally just an enforcer. And how they implement or enforce it is different between nations. But they all do the same thing. I mean, if you look at all the all the G20 leaders out there, they've all been saying, time for a great reset, build back better. Have you all heard those terms? Build back better, great reset? What do you think the probabilities are of all of these leaders coincidentally all saying the same catchphrases? 1 in trillions. It's not a coincidence that they're all saying build back better, great reset, yada, yada, yada. It's because policy is being dictated from above, and then we are the plebs down here that have to basically suck it up. So that's how stuff works. Now, go back a couple of years, or 1 year, the UK was the head of the G7, which is in fact, I'll let Rishi explain it. This video is about a year old, okay? And just look how he's trying to paint this.
Today, I'm proud to say that under the UK's presidency, the group of the world's 7 most advanced economies, the G7, is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside physical notes and coins. Unlike most of the digital money people use daily today, it would be issued directly by a central bank, like the Bank of England in the UK. And governments and central banks across the world are working together, looking into what having a digital currency might mean in practice. This includes issues that people care about, such as ensuring users' money would be safe and secure, that it could work with other ways to pay, would be energy efficient and available to everyone. A potential CBDC could offer businesses and consumers new ways to pay in the future. It's all part of the wider story of digital innovation that has delivered benefits to millions around the world and in the UK. The decision on whether to launch a central bank digital currency is for each country to make, and no G7 jurisdiction has yet made that choice. These decisions raise important questions about the reshaping of our economy, financial systems, and the way in which people interact with money and payments. That's why working together and careful evaluation with our international partners is essential. In the UK, earlier this year, I announced a new joint task force between the Treasury and the Bank of England to look into a potential CBDC as a complement to cash and bank deposits. We're also hearing from firms, technology experts and others. Under the leadership of the UK, this report today will help support and inform exploration of CBDCs in the G7 and beyond. With these principles, the G7 is leading an important step change in the global policy conversation. The report covers a range of important matters, such as financial stability, cyber resilience, energy efficiency, privacy, inclusion, and tackling illicit finance. These factors should all be considered when designing and potentially delivering a CBDC that would be fit for the future. Our shared objective is to ensure that CBDCs would be grounded in long-standing commitments to transparency, the rule of law, and sound economic governance. The G7 will continue its work in this important area, working with others to enhance understanding and use of these principles. We're excited to be taking a leading role with G7 members in publishing this exploratory work, bringing money and finance into the 21st century.
So, he said a few things there which are hilarious, like it would complement our existing cash system. No, it's there to replace the cash system, and a few other bits and bobs. Now, the thing is, by its inherent nature, it is like an NFT. It will be programmable. And so there's ministers said, you could introduce programmability. What happens if one of the participants in a transaction puts a restriction on future use of the money? So they are aware of this, and this is how the government works. They're going to do something, and then they create surveys and polls and votes and whatever to see if it will be allowed in or not. But this is happening as we speak, and it's basically programmable money. So with cash, if I pull out a £10 note, I can do whatever I want. I can give it to whoever I want. I can buy whatever I want, if it's worth £10 or less. But with programmable money, it will come with certain restrictions eventually. So look at this. The government, so this is in China. The government rolled out the travel ban on people with poor social credit last May, according to a report from China's NPCIC from last week. People have been blocked 17.5 million times from purchasing airplane tickets and 5.5 million times from buying high-speed train tickets. These people had become discredited for unspecified behavioural crimes. That's up from only 6.15 million citizens being blocked from taking flights as of 2017, according to China's Supreme Court. So, let's say you are someone that goes against the grain, someone like myself, and you just go shopping or whatever. Purchase denied. You ate too much red meat this month. Purchase declined. You are a dirty anti-vaxxer, whatever. Purchase denied. You drove too many miles this month. You are now a climate change terrorist. Purchase declined. You... whatever bullshit reason they can come up with, right? It is scary, and this is happening. They're doing it in China, and it will happen in the UK eventually. Now, I know some people are sat there right now thinking, this will never happen in the UK. I bet you every penny that I have, it will. Now, they will say it's all about currency settlement latency and stopping tax avoidance. So sorry, no, whoa, stand by. Sorry, Steve. Evasion, I know. I made these in a rush. Whoa. Avoidance is legal. Avoidance is great. Evasion is not. So evasion is illegal. So these are the two premises that they will push it under, okay? And they may even add a few things like cash transmits COVID or some bullshit like that.